and welcome to Katrina's Creations. This is episode 145. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for stopping by, and please click that little red button down below that says subscribe. And if you click the little bell icon next to it, that will let you know anytime I post a video, which is always on Saturday, usually on Wednesday, and sometimes extra times during the week, which it was last week and will probably be this week as well. So, if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back each week and being part of our little crafty bunch. I also am enjoying watching everybody's talking back and forth on Facebook and replying to each other's comments. The video I put up last week on the Tour de Fleece with Fran and Yoka participating, you guys were great. You were high-fiving them, you were congratulating them on what they accomplished, and that's what I want our community here to be, just really encouraging to each other and to the fiber arts. So, that being said, let's get started with this week's podcast. It's been one of those weeks where nothing I started out planning to do happened. So, the cowls I was going to work on for my mother and my daughter and my daughter-in-law for Christmas. Did I get any of them started? No, I got sidetracked by a sweater. I'll explain. A few months ago, my mother gave me her knitting machine, which I gave back because I really do prefer hand knitting. And it takes up an awful lot of space that I just really don't have at liberty to take up. So anyway, in the process of all that, she had a box of some things that were knitted and partially knitted. I did not know that my mother knitted other than the machine, which is kind of funny. I knew she crocheted, but she says, oh no, I knitted. This is what she knitted. Now, from what I can put together of this is, it looks like she used really large needles and did a 1x1 rib. However, the knit stitch is a little different looking than it normally is, just the way it crisscrosses in a few places. But I think it's a 1x1 rib. But anyway, she had this whole body of the sweater done. You can see the back is a little longer than the front, which actually is kind of the style right now. But in the process of this, she stopped after she finished these. She never put them together. She didn't put the sleeves on them. She just put it away and forgot about it. Well, that was in some of the things. And so there was enough yarn that I am working on sleeves. Here's the sleeve for the one side. And here is the sleeve for the other side. Now, normally I would have picked up the stitches and knit it in the round. I didn't in this case because this is very thick yarn. It's technically worsted, but I would almost say it's a heavy worsted. I'm using US 10 knitting needles, and my fabric is fairly tight. So I have no idea what size she was using to do this because it's actually loose. I was teasing her, and I said, my mother's 79 years old, and I said, you can wear this, Mom, but I really think you're going to need a tank top under it, or it's going to be a little bit peekaboo-y, and I don't think you want to do that. So she said, no, definitely she'd be wearing a shirt underneath this. So I am going to attach some type of a neckline to this. I don't think I'm going to do like a turtleneck or anything. I think I'm just going to put a little bit of ribbing around it because I kind of like the light scooped neck like this. I think it'll look pretty on my mom. And she doesn't like things up around her neck a whole lot. So I think I'll just do something small there. And this is the amount of yarn I have left. I have this large of a ball on this side. And I have this large on this side. And then I have a large ball here. Some of this will be used for the neck. So I'm thinking, I mean, my mother's much smaller than I am. She's barely 5 feet. So she has shorter arms. And I think I'm going to be able to get at least 3/4 length, possibly full length sleeves out of this. I'm knitting them at the same time. I started to tell you why I was not doing this in the round, because I'm using size 10 circulars. I have 2 pairs, but neither of the circulars I have are 9-inch cords, which is what I would probably use, 9 to 11-inch cords. So this is a set of interchangeable Clover Takami or Takumi. And these I got for free. I have a whole set of these. And then this is a needle that I got. These are, what are these? These are Addies. It's a 6mm or US 10. And I got these at a yarn sale at a shop that's about 25 miles away from me. Every August, they do a porch sale, and everything on the porch is $2. They had all kinds of sets of interchangeable needles. So when they did, I bought a whole bunch of them because they're Addies, and some of them were Addie Turbos. They're very similar to the needles I use all the time that I got super cheap off of eBay. But for $2, I couldn't go too far wrong. But anyway, I do not have any of the smaller cords to do the sleeves with. And this way, because I've got two sets, I'm able to do the sleeves at the same time. So I do 10 rows on one, 10 rows on the other. I don't have to count the decreases as I go. I just do 10 rows, and then I do a decrease. And when I'm finished, I will then sew up the sides here and the underarm. So then it'll go up the side and under the arms. The only thing that I actually attached for this was the shoulder seams, which is right here, and then I picked up stitches all the way around and knitted out from there. So that's what happened this week. I got sidetracked on that. I did absolutely nothing on my blanket. I didn't even get to that at all on my scrappy blanket. I took my orange blanket to work with me because I went to an event Tuesday night, and we had to set up. We had to be there at 5:30, but the event didn't start till 6:30. So once we had everything set up, we were just sitting there until it started. So I brought this along with me. I did not get very far because no sooner did the event start, it let down and poured, and we had to make a dive for it and put the canopy up, which we had not put up ahead of time because the sun was out when we got there. So we thought, oh no, we aren't going to need the canopy, and then it started sprinkling, and then my coworker and I decided, yeah, we better hurry up really quick and put the canopy up, and thankfully some men that were standing there helped us put it up just before it downpoured. In the process of this, some of my yarn got wet, which it has dried out, thank goodness. The bag it was in got wet, which is now in the wash, and I did not get very far, so let me show you. I only did like 3 rows. That was about it. So 3 rows before the deluge went down, and everything got wet. So I didn't get very far on this. The thing I did make a lot of progress on was the wrap that I am designing. I'm hoping to get this finished in the next week or 2. So last week I had just finished this section on the sides. I got the striping all done, and I have this section done, which is a basket weave pattern. So that was a new to me. It looks very similar to single crochet. No, is that basket? No, the basket weaves, I'm showing the wrong spot. This is the basket weave right here. This is the next striping section. So I was showing you the wrong thing. So this is the basket weave in here, and then this is the next section of the striping. And I'm doing both sides at the same time. So this is what this side looks like. There's the basket weave right here. And then this is the next section of striping. So I have one more section to go, and then I will be finishing off the edges. So let me see if I can roll back far enough here. It is out at my arm span at this point. There you go. And that's before I block it. So once, this is cotton, so it is going to stretch out quite a bit when I block it. So yeah, I am excited. So there it is. Now it's time to check out what you guys have been making. My coworker is coming over this afternoon, and she crochets, so she's going to bring some of her crochet with her, and she's staying for dinner afterwards. So I'm going to stick some footage in of my, well, I say coworker because she and I worked together for 11 years, and she just recently retired. So anyway, I am going to stick that footage in. Hi, this is Katrina, and this is my former coworker, Cindy.
Hello.
And Cindy's crocheting, and she is going to show you the project that she's working on now. So she brought it with her.
I did. So I don't know if you can see this.
I can
show me how. There we go. This is a lattice prayer shawl I'm making, and I'm making it for a little girl in my church who has had some problems going on. And when I saw the pattern for this shawl, it is a pattern using what's called a victory stitch. So I don't know if you can see, but you can see the little triangles maybe here in between. So this stitch that I'm crocheting makes those little triangles. So the victory stitch, V for victory, which is basically just a double crochet, a single crochet, and another double crochet all in the same chain. So it makes that little V shape. So this is kind of a cool, it's going to be about 52 inches long. She's not a very big girl, so we just want enough to, you know, wrap around her shoulders.
It'll be like a stole.
Yes, yes, just a prayer shawl. And when I'm done, I'll take it into church, and our minister will actually bless it, and then I'll give it to her. And I picked the V for victory because when I started it originally, she was going through some surgery and just really struggling with it. And when I said something to her grandmother, I said, I found this really cool stitch. I want to do this for this young lady. And she's like, oh, that's so neat. I'm going to tell her mom it's V for victory. That means she's going to do very well with the surgery, which, by the way, she did, thank heavens. And I just thought this was a nice shawl. And it's pink because that's her favorite color. So that's my, this one's called a lace pattern, a lace shawl pattern, by the way.
I'll put the name and where the designer down here in the captions. Okay. So what size crochet hook are you using?
Now there, if you get the pattern, you'll find I've tweaked it, because right now I'm using an H. It calls for a J. It does call for worsted wool, which is, or worsted yarn, which is what this is, but I picked a little bit of heavier version because this gal, when she latches onto something, she loves it to pieces. So I wanted to make sure it was very lovable and very durable and very washable.
Which is a good idea, because 2 of my grandsons' baby blankets have been loved to the point they literally fell apart. And there goes that clock again. Every time I film, there goes the clock. It's right above us. In case you guys wonder where that's at, you hear it all the time. I told them it was not my biological clock going.
Okay.
Yeah. That happened a long time ago. Oh. So do you know what yarn you're using?
So this
offhand?
It's, I'll tell you, it's not fancy.
That's the best kind?
It's one I got on sale. So a Karen
Easy Care.
Easy Care yarn. Went for very, very easy. Like I said, I want the little girl to be
able to. We like cheap, and you like washable.
Yes,
kids.
Washable
and durable.
And exactly. So
yeah, that'll be cute. So how long have you been crocheting? Do you remember offhand?
I can tell you, I started crocheting about when I was 10. So, and at one point I was really extremely good at it. I could crochet without looking, just like this one here knits.
I can't crochet without looking. No way.
I could at one time, and I've made lots and lots of things. Now in the last, say, 15 years, I kind of got away from it. So now it's almost like I'm starting again. So I'm looking at this and telling Katrina, yeah, the tension on this isn't great. You know,
I think it looks fine. And in fact, I really like the pattern.
It's going to be great. And I'm going to make another one for this gal's sister, only I'm going to make it lacier the way it's supposed to be, and a little bit more just a pretty shawl that that young lady can wear around to, say, a dance. So,
well, I like the idea you had of if you made it again, to make some of these like the border sections between the lacy part like a stripe type of thing.
Yeah,
a different color.
I'm thinking I'm going to use different colors, and I'm also going to play, because Katrina plays with patterns. And when I first learned to crochet, I'm the person, I'm reading the directions. That's how I'm doing it. Now that I've retired, I want to play. So I'm going to try making victory stitch using some triple crochet, some bigger, lacier. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll share that someday. We'll see how it goes.
Yes, maybe we'll do an update when that happens. So yeah,
that's what I'm doing right now.
Well, we're going to get ready to eat dinner in a few minutes, so we'll see you guys later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Now, in last week's, I believe it was last week or the week before, Edna Tollison, who has a podcast, if you want to check her out, it is Granny Crafter. She had put in the show and tell segment a bedspread she had made, she told me, back in the 1960s. And it's been put away for a while. And she brought it out and was showing it for the show and tell. And a lot of you made comments about it because it took a lot of work. And so I'm going to insert the picture of that coverlet. Now, when I say coverlet, as you saw in that picture, it's made up of a bunch of small, like doilies, like small size, that are all then attached. And it was popular in the day. I know they date back as far as the early 1920s, but it was very popular to attach them, and you laid them either over the sheets or over the bedspread. It would protect the bedspread, but it was also very decorative. And it's interesting, when she showed me the picture and she sent it to me, years ago when I was still working for the library at the time that I'm working for now. One of the ladies that worked there brought me this box one day, and she asked me, she said, "Do you crochet?" And at that time, I was a very, very basic crocheter. I could do a granny square, but that was about all I could do. And she said that this belonged to her mother. She was making the coverlet for the bedspread, and she had some of the squares done, and World War II broke out. And her mother was convinced that that was going to be they called it the war to end all wars. I think that was World War II, but I think they said it during the Second World War as well. She was convinced the world was going to end, and so she never finished the bedspread. She packed it all into the box and stored it away, and this lady showed it to me probably right around 2005, maybe. So it had been packed away for over 60 years. And when you looked in the box, I mean, the two of us looked at it just because I found it really fascinating. There was the yarn, there were the completed doilies that she had done, and the hooks were still in there, and the pattern she was using. It was all packed up in a box, and had been sitting there for 60 years. So I just thought it was kind of interesting. I thought I would insert some other pictures of some other coverlets that I found over on Pinterest that are very similar. Now, something else that I found that was really interesting, too. I did a podcast. It was one of my very first, within the first year, I think 6 months into my podcasting career, I did a video, and it talked about the history of crochet and the history of knitting, and it also talked about some famous people who were crocheters or knitters. I will stick if you click on the little letter I up here, it will take you over to that video if you want to see it and hear more information. But it turns out Grace Coolidge, who was the wife of our 30th president, Calvin Coolidge, she came to the White House in 1923. Her husband had been the vice president, and when President Warren G. Harding died very suddenly, her husband, Calvin Coolidge, became from vice president to president. And when she came to the White House, she was very, very well known for her knitting and her crochet. I mean, very, very well known for her. She actually submitted a baby layette to Vogue Knitting or Vogue Crochet. They actually recognized it. From what I understand, she submitted it anonymously because she didn't want people to know that it was the first lady who actually did the work. She actually won a recognition award for it because of the quality of what she had done. She actually, there's documents that talk about the stockings that she knitted for herself that actually had her monogram of her initial within the stocking. So she was very, very well advanced in crochet and in knitting. She actually crocheted one of these coverlets for the Lincoln bed, which is in the Lincoln bedroom. And the Lincoln bed, if you're aware, President Lincoln was like 6'4" or 6'5". So the Lincoln bed is very, very long. It's longer than your average bed. And she actually made a crocheted coverlet like the ones we've been talking about. And she would have done this while her husband was in office. So it was done somewhere between 1923 and 1929 when he left the office. It was her desire that each first lady who came to the office with her husband would leave something behind that contributed to the fiber arts or something that they had made, just to kind of leave their mark on the White House. Now, I don't know that any other people did. I am aware that Eleanor Roosevelt was an avid knitter, and she took her knitting bag apparently everywhere with her. I know that she knitted and had, she encouraged people nationwide to knit socks and sweaters for the troops during World War II. Martha Washington was a famous knitter. She also knitted socks for the troops during the Revolutionary War. There was actually a large drive for people to knit and crochet items during World War II. In fact, they would have knitting bees, and people would have big knit-ins where everybody would get together and produce items. So it's a really interesting video. So if you want to check it out, you can. It's up here. Sojourner Truth was also a knitter. In fact, one of the very famous pictures of her, she was known for wearing her knitted shawls, and in one of the pictures, she's actually knitting, and you can see the knitting needles in her hands. If you're interested in the history of knitting, I got a lot of the information from this book called No Idle Hands. This is an old library book that I think I got this off of Amazon or eBay. I forget. It's out of print now. It was printed last, I think, in the 1980s. But if you're interested in the history of knitting, it's in here. So I just kind of thought that was interesting. When I saw the bedspread that Edna had submitted, I thought it would be interesting to talk about a little bit about those crocheted bedspreads, because they do take a lot of work. They take a lot of time, and it's a lost art you don't see people doing anymore. Who knows? Maybe we could have a revival of the crocheted bedspreads. So anyway, that's just a small little history about them. Like I said, Grace Coolidge made hers somewhere in the early to mid 1920s. And I know Edna said hers was done in the 1960s. So I'm not real sure when the fad of making those died out, or, you know, who knows? Maybe they're still going and I'm just not aware of it. But I thought it was really interesting. So now it's time for acquisitions, and I have a couple this week. First off, I decided I was going to make some project bags. Now, I don't sew all that much. I have a sewing machine. In fact, it's sitting right over here. You can't see it on the screen. It's sitting over here. But I saw at Walmart they had some material, and I thought, maybe I'll make some project bags, and I'll sell them over on Etsy. Since I have an Etsy shop now and I'm selling my patterns over there, why not? So I found this, and it has faith, hope, and love on it, and little red hearts. So I got that for the outside, and then I picked up this fabric to go with the inside. And the reason I did is because it reminds me of the little Christian fish symbol. If you kind of look at it, kind of looks like right there. Looks like the little fishies. So I thought those went well together. And then I got this ribbon, because they're going to be drawstring bags. Those are my favorite type. So they're going to be drawstring bags. And then the other material I got, I just saw it and I thought, oh, that's so pretty. So I got this. And then the inside is going to be these little polka dots. Or I might make like the bottom and then make the top in this. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this. I don't know if I can do it this week. I'm going to play at some point and put these together and try to make a couple of project bags. So that was one of my acquisitions. My other one, if you watched my Lion brand yarn haul, there we go, that's better. That was on Thursday of this week. and it came out, and I had ordered, they had shawl and a ball for 5 skeins for $10. So it's $2 a skein. It usually runs anywhere from $7.99 to $9.99 per skein. So $2, you can't beat it. And apparently everybody was running over to Lion Brand. It was so busy over there that all of the people that were buying yarn crashed the site. There was so much traffic coming to the site to try to buy yarn that they couldn't process it fast enough and actually shut the site down temporarily. That doesn't happen very often, but us crafty people, we managed to do that. So if you saw that haul, you saw what I got, but I will just go over it really briefly. I bought 2 skeins. These are the same yarn. This is called Healing Teal. And why they look so different is this is from the dark color to the light, and this one goes from the light color to the dark. You can see the dark right in here. So they're basically wound backwards from each other. There are 481 yards, which is 440 meters per skein, which is a 50-gram skein, or 150 gram skein. 150 gram skein. Let me get that right. The material this is made out of, it's 58% cotton, 39% acrylic, and 3% other fiber. Be interesting to hear what the other fiber is, but it is really, really soft. And it was funny, on the other video, I said I would show you the halo on one of the darker yarns, and then proceeded to forget to do that. So let me see if I can show it to you. When I say halo, there you can see some of the fuzzies. If I hold against a dark background over here, you can see it. But there's fuzzies on it, right along here. My hand's too light to be able to do that. I'll hold it in the background. I guess you'll have to take my word for it. It's fuzzy. It's very soft. It's very fuzzy. So I have 2 skeins of that. Then I really, really like this one too. This is called Peaceful Earth. And I love the colors of this. The gold. This is really pretty gold. And then it's kind of an antique gold, and then it goes to a chocolate brown. And then there's this really pretty, you can see it, this olive green in it. It is just gorgeous. So I have 2 skeins of that. I have no idea what I'm making with these. Something, I'm not sure what. And then I got my 5th skein of yarn is this one. And this is going to be for a giveaway in the future. And it is white, and it goes to light grays, then it goes through a medium gray, and then in the center in here, it goes to black. So it's very, very neutral. And this is, like I said, going to be a giveaway yarn because coming up in October will be my 3rd year of doing podcasts. So my goal is, September is going to be absolutely crazy for me because we have company coming to stay with us for 2 weeks. They're staying with us for 10 days, and then they're going to be gone for a week, and then they're coming back and staying with us for another 3 or 4. There's some missionaries, and I think they only speak Spanish. I don't think they speak English. Now, Dave will be fine because he's pretty bilingual. He's been learning Spanish since he was in high school, so he does really well. Me, not so much. I smile and point a lot. I understand more than I can speak. I get afraid to open my mouth that I will say something and totally embarrass myself or cause an international incident. So I once announced, this is really bad, but I once announced at the dinner table to some friends, thankfully they were close friends of ours, but they were laughing so hard they about spit their spaghetti out. I thought I was saying that I was sick because he's a doctor. Instead, I announced I was constipated at the dining room table in the middle of dinner. Like I said, they were laughing so hard they about spit their spaghetti out. They had tears running down their face. So, yes, ever since then, I get afraid to open my mouth that I will say something totally embarrassing. So anyway, I might be smiling and pointing a lot during those 2 weeks. But that's going to be, September is going to be, like I said, very busy, and there's lots of people at work that are going to be out, so everything's going to be a little crazy then. So that means October, like I said, will be my 3rd year podcasting, and I think I have big plans for doing several giveaways in October. So you must be a subscriber to participate. So hit the little red button down there so that you'll be ready for it. But yes, we're going to do a bunch of giveaways in October celebrating my 3rd year podiversary. So now it's time for in our Come and Get It section this week, we have Annie's. Now, I have put some pictures in this week so that you can see what I'm actually talking about. I don't know why I didn't think about doing this earlier. If you see anything in these sales I tell you about that you're interested in, if you look down in the bottom, below the subscribe button is a little box that has a bunch of information. There's links down there. If you click the show more and just scroll down, you can click directly on the link. They are in alphabetical order. If you click on that link, it'll take you right over to the website to check out the sale I'm talking about. If you buy through that link, I do get a commission out of it, which helps support the channel. So anyway, let me get started. Annie's has in crochet, it's called Learn to Waterfall Crochet. I'm not at that point yet. I'm just learning to crochet. But it's really, really pretty. So I'm going to put that picture in. And then there is also one that's a crochet pattern called Sophie's Universe. One of you told me you bought that pattern. And I said I would love to see a picture of that when you finish because it's gorgeous. It's way out of my league. Some of you would have no problem whatsoever because you guys are like champion crocheters. Again, me, not so much. So let me show you a picture of what that pattern looks like. And then in knitting, there is a company apparently that Annie's has called Gansey, and they have several crochet and knit patterns, but they have one called the Gansey Afghan Knit pattern that I thought was kind of pretty because it's very textured and it's all done in one color, but I just thought it was kind of unique. So I'm going to stick that picture in. So those patterns and more are available over at Annie's. Now Bluprint has some yarn sales going on in their clearance section. They have Bernat Satin for $1.92, Bernat Softy Chunky for $3.29, and if you remember my Swedish line shawl that I finished last week, the gray and white striped one that I made with alpaca, and I said how soft it was, that yarn is actually on sale right now. It is called Bremont Camino Alpaca, and it's on sale for $3.32 a skein, which is dirt cheap for alpaca yarn. So anyway, that is Bluprint if you want to check that out. Create for Less has Red Heart Classic 190 on sale for $2.39. Consumer Crafts has Lily Sugar and Cream. That's your dishcloth yarns. That is for $1.97. Hobium Yarn, in their clearance section, has a lot of Utopia, which is one of their brands. There's quite a few different types of Utopia. Utopia is the brand name, and then there's different types. There's like baby, and you have to kind of look. I didn't put them all up because there's just too many to talk about, but they are over in their clearance section, and you buy them by the bundle. So the price that you see, it might say $9.97. That's not for one skein. That's for usually around 5 skeins of yarn. So that's over at Hobium in their clearance. They also have a section called Stars of the Month, and if you click on that, that is special yarns that have an additional, I think it's 25% off for that month. Knit Crate, you can get a 20% off your very first subscription box. In order to use that, you do need to use a coupon code KCreations20. Knit Picks right now is running a summer clearance sale. You can get up to 75% off of their clearance, and each month they choose a yarn of the month to highlight and offer 20% off of that. This month they've chosen 2 different types. One is called Capra, the other is called Capretta. They are different. One is a different weight than the other. I think one is a DK, one is a fingering weight, if I remember rightly. So you do want to make sure that if you're ordering through that, you get the right one. But there's 2 to choose from. and those are 20% off, and that's at Knit Picks. Leisure Arts, again, I'm going to put some pictures up because they sell patterns. They've had patterns out for eons, I think. So anyway, they have, in the knitted section, I picked out a couple that I liked, and then I picked up a couple of crochet patterns to show you. So the first one is called Love of Knitting Socks. The second one is called Best of Knit Accessories. So it's things like hats, scarves, stuff like that. Over in the crochet, they have bags and backpacks. Now, you remember I bought some grommets. I'm going to be making a backpack as soon as I finish the wrap. I'm trying not to have a huge amount of crochet and knitting patterns or things going on all at once because I tend to get overwhelmed and then not get any of them done. So I try to have 2 knitting, 2 crochet pattern things going on at once. Anyway, that's on my list. I have the grommets now, so I want to make a backpack. So anyway, that is called Bags and Backpacks. And then they also have one called Shrugs and Boleros. So I thought both of those were kind of interesting. Over in Lion Brand, they are running a sale. Over in their clearance section, they are running a summer sale, 75%, up to 75% in their clearance section right now. And over in Ice Yarns, they have gradient cakes. In their new to us section, they have all different types of gradient cakes. I did not show them all, I'm not going to go through all of them because there's different fiber contents, there's different yarn weights, but there is a ton of them. They're in their new section, so those are ones to check out. And also there is a closeout section, which is like yarns that they're getting rid of, and you can check that one out. There's always things in there that are looking really good and tempting as well. Now, something I thought of, let me know what you think. Ice yarn can be a little intimidating to shop over on it because there are so many options. If you would find it helpful for me to do a tutorial on how I shop, it's certainly not the only way to shop. I'm cheap. It's plastered on my forehead, so I can show you what I do. To briefly sum it up, I go over to their site. I look by, I think it's shop by is the tab you click, and then I click by price, and then the price thing drops down, and then I look at the price range I'm willing to spend. There was some in there. It's not yarn I'm interested in, but it was 99 cents per bundle. So I did go over and look at it. There was 4 skeins in the bundle. They were each 25 cents each. So you can shop by price, which is what I do, because otherwise I could overspend very easily. And like I said, cheap is plastered on my forehead, so I like to kind of shop by price. Anyway, but if you think it would be helpful to you to have a tutorial on how to shop for cheap yarn, like on the ICE website or whatever, let me know, and I will do my best with it, and I will try not to buy anything at the same time. So, yes, anyway, that is it for this week. Now, Wednesday's video is going to be exciting because if you remember, I entered the local fair. I entered 4 things. I entered my fractal doily, my Virus Meets Granny, that's a shawl pattern. I entered a shawl that I had designed called the Basket Wave, and I entered a sweater by Marley Bird called the Barton Cardigan. I won 3 prizes, 3 ribbons, 2 first place, and a second place. But I'm not going to tell you on what. You've got to watch Wednesday's video to see what I won the ribbons for. So that is going to be Wednesday's video. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. And I will see you again on Wednesday. Oh, and there might be another podcast as well this week besides Wednesdays because my Knit Crate should probably be coming in this week. So if it does, there will be an extra one. Yeah, it should be due in. So you'll see a lot of me this week. I hope that's a good thing. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next video. I'll say it that way. So Have a great week. Bye, everybody.